Now, I don't know about you, but EX games used to be all the rage. When I was huge into the creepypasta communities, there was just all these stories that creative people would make these video games for. And sometimes I go and I look through the dusty archives of my PC and I find a little treasure or two. And one of those things happened to be Flutter Island Remake and Flutter Island 2. The thing with EX games is they're usually pretty heavy on the cheese when it comes to your creepypastas, right? But they do fit that aesthetic of being subtly creepy, followed by intense jump scares that kind of come out of left field. And I'll admit, there were a few that actually got me while playing. But overall, I wouldn't say that most EX games are scary. EX games kind of used to follow the whole Ben Drowns thing. It used to be that you found some haunted game, and now the entity inside was going to be cursing you, and that you were trying to escape before they stole your soul. But then it sort of started to evolve into its own little thing. EX games then started taking on their own stories. They started getting sequels and, third entries and whole lines of games following a couple of characters in this constant battle between good and evil. I don't know when I stopped liking EX games, but I think it's when EX games stopped being, I guess, when they stopped having the substance behind them. So, take Pokepastas for example. You obviously have things like Strangled Red, you have things like, the ones that I wrote, Soul Silver, you have all these different things, Snow on Mount Silver, those sorts of really popular creepypastas that and Pokepastas that ended up having complementary games so that it truly felt like you were living the life of the person that had found this haunted game and was living through this haunted story. It was kind of like falling down a rabbit hole, similar to Hello Neighbor, where through the alpha builds, the beta build, the final release, everything had these strange pieces that you were putting together. Or even like FNAF, where you were given just a little bit, and, the game was sort of the syrup on top of the pancakes sort of thing. It just completed the whole thing. It made it feel real. But now EX games kind of just feel like a cheap grab of some sort. It's 5 minutes of semi-entertainment with bad controls and really loud music, random jump scares, and lore that doesn't really register or compute. In fact, while playing it, while playing Flutter Island, I kept thinking to myself, this is like Sonic EXE, right? So the minute I run into the red room, I'm going to turn around and there's going to be a chase or a jump scare. And then, sure enough, there it was. Going into Flutter Island 2, I guess I was a bit more hopeful. The person that was making these obviously had more time to add more details. And I found that there was a lot more story, but yet, for all the story that we were given, it almost felt like we weren't given anything. We were just given more questions than answers. But the thing is this isn't a popular series like FNAF, as far as game-wise. I don't see people lining up out the door for a Flutter Island. And I guess that's kind of where I realized that EX games kind of just became a bit of a joke. But since it was the spooky season, I wanted to continue playing it. And I'm not knocking the creator. Don't get me wrong on that. Like, I don't know the first thing about programming a game. I don't know the first thing about making anything like this. I'm not saying it's even within my ability to do so. But when I got into Flutter Island 2, I was kind of excited. I was like, oh, my friends have been turned to stone. And then this repeating character, which I guess is called Creepy Bloom, I had to dig through 3 Google pages just to figure out who this character was, why they existed, and it turns out they were some niche crossover of some kind. there wasn't even a creepypasta for Flutter Island as to why it existed. If there was a creepypasta that I could have read, then I would have read it over the footage of the game, and then I would have had my video. But instead, I did research and looked more into stuff, and I looked for the creepypasta, couldn't find anything, but I was finding links to this game on GameJolt, Game Maker, this, that. And, you know, like I said, there seems to be some story here. You know, there seems to be this constant battle, again, between the good and the bad, the light and the dark. And it actually did start to get a little interesting, but I just feel like there just wasn't enough to kind of keep me going. But like I said, the jump scares, you know, they do their job well. When you have loud noises, sudden flashes, you know, that did give me a good jump or two, thus the name jump scare. But when the scariest part of these things is when you're looking at the platforming and wondering how well it's going to work, or when the scariest part is your game closing suddenly to add to that sense of unease that this being inside the computer has power over you. You know, that to me means that there's work to be done in something that is scary. But I did want to play this because I've had this on my computer for, I think, around 2 years now. And the thing is I've seen some videos on it, but not very many. Mostly I just looked at thumbnails and things in passing, and yeah. And the thing is I have more EX games on my computer. And I think that's what terrifies me more than this actual game. Is that I have more of these badly controlled EX games, and I think it's just so funny how tastes kind of evolve over time, because EX games used to be my jam. I would see YouTubers pull up an EX game and I thought to myself, oh, they are going to scream and cry, and I cannot wait to see their reactions. But then now I'm starting to wonder how much of that is an overreaction, because me, myself, I was not scared while playing these games. In fact, I saw the portraits and I was like, ooh, we're getting some good stuff. I thought maybe we were getting some lore. I thought maybe there'd be writing that appeared on the portraits to say, like, you hurt her or you did this to her, and again, we got no context. Then when I went into this section, I thought I'd gone the wrong direction and maybe got some alternate ending where I tried to escape prematurely. Because again, I didn't know where I'd really come from. The directions didn't really make sense. And, you know, and then I guess it really did start to pick up where it was like, I bet you're wondering where your portrait is. And then I was like, there we go, because I had asked that question aloud while playing. And I was like, where's the portrait? Where is it? And and then I actually laughed at that sweet burn where it's like it was so ugly it was making your friends look good. I laughed. Like, I was nearly in tears. I was laughing so hard. And again, I feel like that's the opposite effect that games like this should have. And then I saw the blood room, and I even said, oh, there it is. The one thing creepypasta critics complain about is all the blood. You know, so edgy, so typical. And then when the effect was overused of this creepy bloom character popping in, I literally told myself, I said aloud while playing, alright, you've overused that. It's kind of annoying now. You know? And again, it wasn't fear that was driving me at this point. It was oh my god, I really just want to finish this game. You know? Now this part, I'm gonna give this part credit, okay? And normally I would just be letting my actual commentary do the work, but these games were so loud. I actually only liked this section because it was nostalgic. It reminded me of a level in classic Mario where you have to choose, or Super Mario World, one of the two, where you have to choose the right path to get through the castle. And if you choose the wrong path, you're kind of like stuck. I was kind of frustrated that there really was no way to know like where that hole was. and that I kind of was just playing this weird guessing game with no indication. And I thought the section was going to be longer to make it more challenging, but again, this was just a very, very, very short sort of experience. And then once again, we came to the Red Room, and because in Flutter Island 2, there is no run function throughout the game, I thought to myself, now, you know, we're gonna get a big button that says shift to run, and run's gonna be unlocked, and we're gonna have a chase sequence. But no, instead we really did get this Snow on Mount Silver sort of transformation, which is honestly, like, again, that did kind of feel nostalgic. It felt very old style creepypasta, and I could definitely appreciate it. But then we got all this story of, you know, Creepy Bloom, which, after looking up the character Creepy Bloom, I realized that their sole purpose is literally just to mess with ponies. It's not even one pony in particular that they hate. You know, they just literally exist to mess with other ponies. But then Creepy Bloom suddenly turns into, you know, Fluttershy, and basically says, I'm you. I'm your darkness. I'm what's inside. You're so kind and you're so nice, but it's all a facade, and it's because you've been pushing me deeper and deeper inside yourself, chaining me away, but I'm gonna come back. Like, I will wake up eventually. You know, and I could see where this could kind of branch out into these games where Fluttershy just suddenly becomes a psychopath and, you know, starts murdering all her friends, but that never happened. But anyways, so that was Flutter Island. Short experiences. I mean, play them if you're a fan of My Little Pony and I guess semi-scary things. I didn't really find it scary, though. But anyways, leave a like if you like these videos, and if you want to see me play more EX games, happy October. I will be playing more scary games as we go on. Thank you for your continued support. I'll see you guys in the next video. Alright. Ciao, you guys.